Ryan Coogler's Sinners was a great attempt at a supernatural movie, but he did do a lot which disqualified the narrative path which constitutes how movies like this should be made. He broke the movie's most important rule: show more, tell less. Then he disregards the system by which vampire stories are presented. I'll tell you. Well, this is how I believe Sinners ought to have rightly been done. In Sinners, there's very little exposition and everything is left to face value. And we know that Annie is into juju, yet we've never seen the effects of how potent her juju truly is. She throws some materials around here and there and then suddenly comes up with answers to combating vampires, like using garlic and a stake to the heart, and not inviting anyone else into the club. I would have suggested that from the beginning of the movie, the story should still be about Smoke and Stack, obviously, but told from the point of view of Annie, because she is somehow or somewhat versed in the occult. We would see Annie dabbling in rituals, but sacrificing to Oya or Orisha, and then she would be given visions of death and suffering, and she would see a seed planted in the ground which would grow into a tree, and all will eat and be full from the fruits of that tree. But somebody dressed in white would bite the tree, and the tree would shed blood and then burn. Annie would wake from her vision or trance, and then Sammy would come around telling her Smoke and Stack have returned to town. This vision already illustrates two things. Annie is no joke in the occult, and when she says something, right, it's not going to be taken for face value. She is to be taken for her words. And the next vision reveals that something wicked this way comes. With this one scene, we've already established the story, the worldview, and the rules of this world. When the vampire remake is being chased by the Red Indians and finds refuge in town in the home of some folks far away, Remake would claim to be on a journey of salvation, believing that there is one path to salvation, not freedom. Salvation, and it is in the blood. Salvation is in the blood. That the Bible did get one thing right. He will tell the folks that he was once like them, a wanderer who wandered like Cain, but then a child found him, and like the kiss of Judas to Christ, he too was kissed, and then he was born again. Then the husband of the woman he's talking to stands up to his feet, all bloodied and healed. Remake chuckles softly and remarks, "He's all better now." This scene reveals to the viewers that Remake sees himself as one who is likened to an evangelist who spreads salvation via being a blood drinker. Àwọn tí nípa omi inú. Now, to sidetrack for a bit, Sinners is a tribal movie, or it was supposed to be. So I used native words related to Yoruba tribe to express things. For example, vampire is an English word. From the setting of Sinners, there is no way they would have been that exposed to the world and to other folklore and tales of vampires, because if they were, we would have seen it or been told about it. So doing this right, I didn't call Remake a vampire, but a blood drinker. Àwọn tí nípa omi inú. Right, so Smoke and Stack, let's move on. Smoke and Stack need musicians for their club. Sammy makes his way and auditions. His debut is so impressive that when he sings, birds tweet, the wind blows softly, and people gather around. Elsewhere, Annie notices the wind. She mutters, it's changed directions. Remik looks up wherever he is, like he's being endowed from the heaven, and smiles. The sweet savour of sacrifice. Smoke and Stack decide to give Sammy a reserved spot to play in the club. It's night. Everyone's gathering at the club. Annie, Mary have been invited to help around with serving customers. Someone comes to give Smoke a message that he has a visitor. He goes to the door and it's their former employees from Chicago. They accuse Smoke and Stack of stealing from them. Smoke and Stack quickly dispatch every single one of them, and Stack says, send more men next time. Smoke chimes in and says, send something much, much stronger. A gust of wind blows past, rustling the leaves of a nearby tree. Annie mutters, it's changed directions again. Now, to sidetrack for a bit, this scene establishes how ruthless the twins are and how no one is more skilled in killing than them. Even Cornbread remarks, now, we sure know what y'all did in Chicago. Y'all don't play, you see. Now, going back to it, Sammy takes center stage and the crowd goes wild. Everywhere, everyone's going wild with dancing and rejoicing. Elsewhere, Remix strides, homing in on the music, heading to the club. This is where things go down. With death, mayhem, and the twins realize they can't kill Remix. Then Smoke remarks he doesn't believe in magic, juju, just power. Annie then remembers the vision, that the tree she saw was Sammy, and his music is what drew Remix. Remix says Sammy is the perfect vessel. His voice would lead everyone to the promised land, to salvation. But he must first be saved, because he tells Sammy that his voice, others will come for it, as long as he lives. With this, now we have given context and exposition to Remix motives. Also, we've revealed that Sammy's desire to be a musician, will it be compromised, or will he continue? Then also with Smoke and Stack, who wants to kill Remix because they're the best hunters out there. So it's more like their reputation is on the line. Ego is what's driving them at this point, not even survival. Annie needs to find a way to kill the blood drinkers. So she needs time to consult the ancestors. Now the goal, or wants and needs, have been clearly set. This is how I believe this movie should have gone, because in every vampire movie, first, someone knows about vampires or whatever threat plagues the story of that movie. Second, someone is extensively skilled and proficient in hunting them, aka vampires. And third, vampires or werewolves or whatever is in direct opposition to a character's goal or objective. I mean direct. In relation to this movie, it doesn't make sense. But to supernatural movies, it does. Because you know for a fact that this is what they are going after. For example, in Blade, we have when Whistler, vampire hunter, very extensive knowledge and background in not just hunting vampires but knowing about the species. Abraham Lincoln, vampire hunter. The guy who trains Dominic Cooper, who trains Abraham Lincoln, also a vampire, extensive knowledge in vampire hunting. Castlevania, Trevor Belmont, vampire hunter, extensive knowledge and skill about the species of vampires. Dracula Untold, the elder vampire, or let's leave the elder vampire, let's use the priest. Knowledge in vampires and the occult, knowledge in the species, extensive knowledge of how to rebuke or cast them. So you can see the pattern. This was the first thing I said that Ryan Coogler broke. That alone disqualifies this movie from being even a supernatural movie. This movie had its objective, it had its ideas, it had where it was going. But the story didn't properly marinate, it didn't properly cook. He knew what he wanted to do, but he didn't just know how to execute it. And as I said, Sinners was supposed to be a cultural movie. Unfortunately, it wasn't. You can't claim in the south side of somewhere in America during that particular year that people know about vampires. That's not possible. Vampire is it's Slavic, if I'm not mistaken. I think Slavic mythology. So there is no way they would have even known about that phrase, vampire or dampire. No way. It's not even possible. It's not possible. This is how this movie would have been done right. But unfortunately, we have black Americans trying to hijack African culture and shove it into a story where they lack the necessary understanding of what truly African culture is. That's why this movie didn't work. So, members of the round call, this better explains precisely where Sinners went wrong and how it could have been done better. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share, and I will see you all on the next one.